Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. It is aired every Wednesday and Thursday on Truth 96.1 FM and Echoes Radio 91.5 FM. The show runs from 11 to 12 noon and is relayed on Prime FM 105.5 FM on Thursday. A repeat broadcast of the show comes on Truth 96.1 FM on Saturday from 6 to 7 p.m. Integrity Watch is a key advocacy tool that provides essential information around the state of the fight against corruption, national integrity building efforts, as well as promotes the culture of accountability, transparency, and evidence-based decision-making across all sectors of Liberia. Under Center's National Integrity Building and Anti-Corruption Program, funded by the government and people of Sweden through the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, or SIDA, the radio program serves as a coordination and engagement platform that rallies citizens and other stakeholders' support for the fight against corruption and bad governance in Liberia. As part of this program, that is the National Integrity Building and Anti-Corruption Program, Center has established the Advocacy and Legal Advice Center, an independent platform that enables citizens to freely report and seek redress to corruption and other integrity-related issues within their communities, the country at large. At ALAC, we have a team of professionals, including lawyers, who are there to serve and to cater to whatever concern that will be brought to their attention. So we encourage our citizens to report issues about integrity and corruption-related matters to our ALAC via the following means. We have email address, which is alac@cental.org.lr. It's alac@cental.org.lr. And you have the Facebook address. You can link up with us on Facebook through Center ALAC. So it's all cap Center CENTALALAC. And you can contact us there. We also have the contact numbers that you can call to be able to report whatever issues you have, be it integrity matter, be it seeking legal advice. You can contact the numbers. We will announce the numbers later. The numbers are free, but this emphasis on the number. The numbers we're going to be announcing and the numbers we always announce on this show. They are for reporting issues about integrity and corruption. They are not numbers that children would take and just call to say anything. Please, the numbers are only for people who want to report and seek legal advice. So if you don't have anything to do with seeking legal advice or reporting integrity matter, please don't call the number. We also encourage people to send email to our, the email address has already been announced. And we encourage you to walk in. We have walk-in services, so you can walk in. Our address is right on 22nd Street, just opposite the John F. Kennedy Medical Center, and above the Lockheed Development Corporation or Lockheed Pharmacy. So just walk in and give the information there. SMS we also accept as well. So the Integrity Watch is a platform that is informative and is void of invectives and generating comments. So guests appearing on this platform are informed about what the platform is about and what guides the platform. So you don't just provide information that are not correct, because we cross-check information that are provided on this platform and the necessary check and balances are put into place. So today is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, and the Integrity Watch edition of our March 3rd is playing host to Mr. Jimmeh, Jr. He's the head of Secretariat, Open Government Partnership, the OGP. So today he accepted our invitation to come and discuss about the work of the OGP, how are they working to promote accountability and transparency and participation in our governance process. So we want to say welcome to studio, Mr. Jimmeh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zota, and thanks to Secretariat for giving us the opportunity to be on your platform, Integrity Watch, and thanks to the people of Sweden for sponsoring such a unique and wonderful program.
How's the family?
Oh, well, good. We are making it, at least when you're here.
Okay. All right. You are also encouraged to follow us on the Integrity TV. So the program is live on Integrity TV. You can follow us and leave your comments and suggestions, and we will read out your comments and take your suggestions as well. So before we get started, we'll go to the next segment of our program, which is Little Things That Matter. We want to welcome His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia, back to Monrovia after his county's tour. And we are just hoping that now that the President is back, the government will be fully functional now, because it was seemingly paralyzed as a result of the President's tour. Most offices were said to be, the minister is not here, the other director is not here, the other assistant minister is not here, they are on county tour. We are hoping that everything is okay now and our government will be fully functional. Secondly, we also want to talk about the issue about the General Auditing Commission. It's 5 days since the close of the call for application for the replacement of the Auditor General of the Republic of Liberia. So 5 days now, the call for application closed on February 26th. So we expect that the committee has already started the vetting process, and we are still raising concern to know when do we expect the President to receive the report from the vetting committee, from the committee headed by the legal advisor, Councillor Archibald Bernard. Councillor Bernard, we are looking up to you to submit the report as soon as possible to allow the President to review, to either accept or reject whatever recommendation that you will send. The law provides that the President could accept or reject. So he has the power to do that. So now we go straight over to our guests. But before we go to our guests, we want to take a break. As soon as we come back, we go straight over to our guests to begin our discussion. Let's take a break. Okay, welcome back to the program Integrity Watch. It's a 1-hour radio program brought to you by the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia with support from the government and people of Sweden through the Swedish International Development Corporation Agency, or SIDA. We go over to our guest. we begin by asking to know about what do we call the OGP? What is it all about? What do you do as a secretariat? What do you do there?
So, the OGP is an acronym of the Open Government Partnership, and the Open Government Partnership is an international platform that got started in 2008 by former American President Barack Obama. There is this definition or interpretation of what government is. It's often said that government is for the people, by the people, and of the people. So, in his wisdom and in the wisdom of other world leaders, they thought that the government needed to be closer to the people than it has always been, since in fact it's for the people, it's of the people, and it's by the people. So they thought to create this platform by which the people could have greater say, by which they could be able to elevate citizens' participation in the governance process, to be able to move maybe the statutory mandate to a commitment that the government will make to the people, and so that the government will become more obligated and see themselves more attached, but also so that government will become more responsive. All right. So in 2008, President Barack Obama initiated this with other countries. The Open Government Partnership got started, and Liberia became a part of it in 2011 when former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf signed onto it and committed the country. And so the Open Government Partnership, as it is, as you hear, is a international platform that brings government and civil society actors together to be able to work on issues of transparency, accountability, integrity, government's responsiveness, and citizens' participation and inclusion. It creates that space for dialogue between government and civil society. Too often there's this adversarial relationship between government and civil society actors. And so the OGP creates the space where government and civil society actors can come together and begin their engagement right from the get-go. And we don't have to wait until policies are crafted or until decisions are made, all right? So right from the get-go, government and civil society actors can begin to discuss those policy issues, can begin to work on the development and the crafting of those issues in the right direction that will include citizens' voices, that will bring citizens to the table. You and I are aware that civil society serve as that bridge to connect the people to the government. And so OGP, that's the platform for which OGP creates.
Okay. Under the OGP, there is something called Open Government Standard. Would you mind telling us what is it and how does it work? What are the pillars of the Open Government Standards?
So, open government is to ensure that the government is kind of transparent, it's more accessible.
Yeah.
All right. So the Open Government Standard is about integrity, it's transparency, it's accessibility, it's accountability, and it's responsiveness. All right. And that's what the OGP promotes. That every government that exists, there must be some high degree of transparency, both in how policies are crafted, how policy actors are implementing those policies. There must be a high degree of accountability, that the policy actors can see themselves accountable to the people, all right? And government should become more responsive in a way, so that the government will see it as an obligation, that it is our responsibility to respond to the needs of our people. It is our responsibility to ensure that our people are taken care of. It's our responsibility to ensure that the needs of our people are addressed adequately, efficiently, and more effectively. So that's what the Open Government Standard is all about, is to bring a high degree of accountability, transparency, responsiveness, citizens' participation, inclusion, and integrity. Integrity is something that is has been lost, not just in the governmental cycle, but even in the private sector. When you check our governance system, there's a huge outcry from citizens about the issue of integrity, and that is something that needs to be worked on. That is something that we all need to push. and be able to promote, all right, that people who come to the public space, people who come to governance cycle must have a high degree of integrity, must be able to exercise a high degree of integrity, must live, um, yes, I mean, above reproach. We know that there can be no saint, but at least, you should be at a standard where the people can be able to see you and hold you. You should be able to provide those things and surround yourself with those integrity issues, all right, and be able to live up to that kind of standard.
We're in a chat with a local government official, and in that chat, the official told us that openness usually brings confusion. And he mentioned about opening of budgets. When you have a budget and you have it to your chest, no one knows what's happening with the budget.
Okay.
But as soon as it's open, people get to question what's happening with this, what's happening with that. So my question to you is, how does the open government partnership brings, credibility to the government's democratic credentials?
So let me start off by saying, if the local government officials say openness brings confusion, then I think closeness brings rebellion.
Okay.
All right, it brings chaos.
Okay.
But what the OGP seeks to do, like I said, government has a statutory mandate. Every government line, ministry, and agency has statutory mandate. What the OGP seeks to do is to move the statutory mandate to a commitment.
Okay.
That these line ministries, agencies, and commissions will now make a commitment and not just have a statutory mandate to the power that appointed them or to the power that they serve, but that they will have a commitment to the people, the citizens. Because the true power belongs not to the appointing power, the appointing authority, but it belongs to the people. It is the people who give that power to the appointing authority. And so the OGP, what the OGP seeks to do is to take your statutory mandate and make it a commitment to the people. And so when it comes to the issue of the budget process, for example, at the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Finance is a part of the Open Government Partnership. The Ministry of Finance has commitment within the National Action Plan. Matter of fact, the 4th National Action Plan for Liberia has been developed and launched.
Yeah.
All right, that was on February 10th, February 10, 2021. And in that National Action Plan, the Ministry of Finance has committed to ensuring that the budget process will be open and transparent. That all of the processes leading to the development of the budget, they call circular, the sectoral meetings. And when the budget is crafted, the different there will be different town hall meetings to be able to explain the budget. There will be a citizen guide to the budget, the different reports, the mid-year report, the end-of-year report. And all these different financial instruments will be made available to the people. Because you see, here is the thing. Too often, when the budget is crafted, the people tend to cry that the budget does not have a direct impact on their lives. And so, what the OGP seeks to do is to push the Ministry of Finance with that commitment and say, look, you know what? Let's get this thing from the get-go. Let there be, at the circular meeting, let citizens be a part so that they can be able to express their actual needs, so they can be able to state what are those things that they actually need. And when those information come at the sectoral meeting, they can filter down to where the numbers are allocated, where the numbers are allotted, all right? And then at that place, the technicians will now know exactly what are the real needs. And so technicians will not just sit in their offices and craft and allocate and allot numbers, but they'll be doing that on the basis of what the citizens feel is very important. Because it's possible that sometimes the government might think that, there's a need to put a lot of money to education. But what in case you have this, all of the citizens sick? So who gets educated? I mean, you can't be sending people to school when they're not healthy. So if the citizens are saying, look, let's pay serious attention to health, that means that the government in her allocation will put a little bit more money to health than they will put to maybe sports, all right, or then they will put to maybe something else, all right. So that is how the OGP working tries to open up the government in a way, try to open up the budget process so that citizens can have a say and can become more participatory. Because by that we feel that the real issues will be dealt with, the real needs will be addressed.
you're talking about openness with the budget. There is this concern always come up about the budgetary process. The prioritizing our priorities. Sometimes some of the budget, like honor security, NSA, usually NSA is not usually audited as education, as or maybe public works and other people will always have keen eye on what happens to the fund that are provided. So people like civil society, how open are you? How involved are you with the budget that goes to the security sectors? That they are scrutinized. That maybe if they are over, you can take some and put some to education, put some to health, and all of those. How are you involved with that?
Yeah. So the way the OGP work with those kind of things is that we all understand that security matters, especially when it comes to national security matters.
Sensitive, right?
Yeah, all of it cannot be open. Okay. I mean, that is real. But there are a few that we can also kind of talk about. So, for example, when it comes to the judiciary, all right, the OGP works closely with the judiciary. In the security sector, the Open Government Partnership kind of right now is not directly involved with the security sector in that way, all right, but we are involved with the Ministry of Finance. So in our discussion, perhaps maybe the budget is being reviewed.
Yes.
Citizens see the budget and they see that there was a little bit more money added to the security than it was to education or to health, and it raised a concern. Our responsibility would be to engage the Ministry of Finance and say, look, citizens are concerned about the amount that is being allotted to security.
Special project.
Yeah, we understand that national security is of importance, is of significance, but can we look around and see how we can increase, because their needs are education and health, or agriculture, or infrastructure, or road connectivity. So can we look around and see how we can increase the budget with these ones, even if we're not going to temper with the budget on security, but how can we ensure that we maybe we take money from, like you just said, maybe some special projects, and let's be a little bit more detailed. What are those special projects? All right, let's outline those special projects. Let's state where they are taking place. All right, let's look at the kind of impact they're going to have on the citizens. And if when all of those evaluations are done, and we see that, okay, you know what, it doesn't hurt to take $5 from this special project and allot it to this education project.
Have you had such an engagement before?
Of course. So you see, at the level of the OGP, it's not just the Secretariat that does the engagement.
Okay.
So it's civil society actors. The OGP is a conglomeration of civil society actors and government.
Okay.
So regularly, in fact, the OGP has a steering committee of 10 members.
Right.
So regularly, that steering committee meets. That steering committee includes the Ministry of Finance, the Judiciary Branch of Government, the LACC, the Ministry of Information. It has Centar as a member. It has Accountability Lab as a member. It has ALAF as a member. It has the Independent Information Commission as a member. And so it has the PYPP, the President of Young Professionals, as a member. And so they meet on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, and they discuss these issues. But to a larger extent, there is a multi-stakeholders forum where all of the civil society actors are also involved, and so those issues are thrown out to civil society actors to kind of start the engagement, or to kind of get involved with the engagement. And so what happens eventually in the process is that we take some of these issues as well as Secretariat, and we engage the relevant government actors. And we want to be really thankful to, when it comes to the Ministry of Finance, we want to be thankful to the Deputy Minister for Budget, Honorable Lieutenant Bronson. Honorable Lieutenant Bronson has been very responsive and very open, and she has always been ready to step up and get engaged and get involved and discuss. All right, she's been concerned about what the issues are. Okay, but also we encourage civil society actors not just to sit away and criticize. Come to the table. Raise your concerns. Okay. Let us not wait till when everything is done. When the process gets started and you realize that the process is not on course, let's begin to talk about the process now being on course. Let's not wait until the process gets ended, the budget is crafted, the funds are allotted, the allocations are made, then we come back and say, oh, the people did not do it right. I mean, the whole budget is a mess and it doesn't speak to the need. But then what happens is you did not follow the process. Because if you have corrected it from the beginning, you will not be crying at the end. And that's what you're pushing right now.
So the OGP process started in 2008.
Yeah, sure.
With the former President Obama.
Yeah.
And then Liberia signed to it in 2011.
Yeah.
Since 2011, what will be your great point for the government in terms of transparency, accountability, openness in governance?
So the OGP has our own rating,
Okay.
has our own standard. You know, it's an international body, all right? And so it rates countries every year. So what happens, like I said, every 2 years, countries develop their national action plan according to the OGP standard.
Okay.
And when those national action plans are ended after every 2 years, the country gets rated. And to be honest with you, since Liberia signed on, our rating hasn't really been good.
Okay.
All right.
What
Our
has it
first national action plan, and we're one of the first African countries to develop the national action, the OGP national action plan. So our first national action plan was developed in 2013, and it ran from 2013 to 2015. And according to the OGP rating, which has a regular standard of not started, limited, substantial, and completed, our rating was that not started. So after 2 years, again, it shows that we had not done anything. And the reason, reading from the report, the reason was that was our first year being involved with the OGP, and so a lot of things needed to be understood as to what needed to be done. Because you see, the OGP is not an extra work. It is just a tool to drive government's national agenda in a very, very selective and segmented way. All right, I'm doing it gradually, but gradually in a way that it becomes incremental. So, for example, you take 5 ministries, they make commitment 2 years, and those commitments are in line, are synced with the country's national agenda, and when they're achieved, those commitments speak directly to the ministry's mandate. And when they're achieved, that ministry has achieved a mandate. So in 2013, 2015, it was not started. In 2015, 2017, our rating was started, all right, but at a very limited scale. It was on a very limited scale. Now, our last report, 2017, 2019, because our last national action plan ended in 2019. Our last report, according to the independent reporting mechanism of the OGP, it's not too okay, all right?
What is it?
It took us back to almost not started.
Why? Why did that happen?
So there were several factors. In 2018, there was a transition. You understand that a new government took over. The new government had no understanding of what the OGP was. The new government assumed the Open Government Partnership National Action Plan without full knowledge of what it was. So implementing or completing that particular action plan was a challenge. First of all, the government lacked understanding of the OGP.
Mr. Jimmeh, I want to go with there. Government is continuated.
Agree.
In continuated, it means that there are technicians
Sure.
that work with the NAP.
Yes.
So it means that those technicians should be in place when the new government comes, so that they can have the knowledge to know that this action plan was crafted by us and we have to implement it, and they have the idea of how it's supposed to be. So what happened there?
Good. So, Mr. Zota, you see, the OGP have had several challenges, past and present government.
Okay.
First and foremost, there has been this poor ownership
Okay.
when it comes to the open government. All right. Government.
On the part of
Government.
Okay.
Yes. Government has not really owned up to the open government partnership. All right. And so that poor ownership is kind of affecting the way the OGP works. It's kind of affecting our rating. All right. It's just not with just this government, even with the past government. All right. The other thing is also is that the people who are the principal authorities too often are too busy doing whatever it is than to pay attention to what these international standards are bringing. And you see, sometimes it becomes laughable because other countries are hugely benefiting as a result of these international benchmarks that they're meeting, and our country is celebrating 10 million when they could have gotten 200 million. We're celebrating 20 million when we have gotten 300 million. And the reason is just because we're not meeting up with these international standards. We're not matching up to what these international benchmarks are being required of us. All right. So the lack of ownership, the lack of political will, the lack of political will also has affected the way the open government partnership works. Okay. Sometimes you call meetings that require principals, that require ministers to be there, and to our greatest disappointment, they will second people, and those people will second another set of people, and so by the time you come to think about it, the person will be in the room, will not even be the person who's supposed to make that kind of decision or can speak anything of an authority. Unfortunately, that person also leave the room and go back and make no report to the principal. And the principal has no interest to say, look, you attended a meeting on behalf of this institution, so you need to say exactly what it was. So there's a lack of knowledge and understanding, all right? Then when the government took over, also another factor was some of the technicians were transferred, were removed, all right? And because they were removed from the position, they were removed from whatever task or responsibility they had, certainly the information wasn't passed on. There were no briefing. So that affected the new government. They lacked the understanding, and so it took us time, 2018, when the Secretariat, because the Secretariat got established in 2018. When the Secretariat got established in 2018, the first thing we sought to do was to see what has been the gaps. How can we close these gaps so that government can perform better going forward? And I can say to you, I can really say to you, this 4th National Action Plan that was developed, it was more exhaustive. It was more comprehensive. We have a lot of key actors this time around at the table, and so we think we've kind of improved the level of ownership, okay, with this National Action Plan, and we're really hoping that this one will move our country from the skills, from the rating it has had over time to something that will be more better and more appreciable.
You're listening to the program Integrity Watch. Is a 1-hour radio program brought to you by the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. It is aired every Wednesday and Thursday on Truth 96.1 FM and ECOWAS Radio 91.5 FM. It runs from 11 to 12 noon and is relayed on Prime FM on Thursday with a repeat broadcast on Truth 96.1 FM on Saturday from 6 to 7 p.m. Integrity One serves as a primary radio-based communication and information dissemination platform of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. It is sponsored by the government and people of Sweden through the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, or SIDA. So we now announce the number that our audience can participate in the program. You can call 0775 373 657, 0775 373 657, 0775 373 657. That's the number to call to participate in the program, and we are hosting the head of Secretariat of the Open Government Partnership. He's Jimmeh Jr. So he's in studio today, and we are discussing openness. How open is the government? How transparent is our governance process? So he has come to talk about that, and you can weigh in and make a contribution by calling the numbers we just announced. The number is 0775 373 657. That's the number you have to call to participate in the program. So he's in the studio with us today, and we are talking about the openness of our governance process. So with all of the ratings, with all of the different ratings that you just talked about, up to 2017, 2019, we are almost like last started. Yeah. So with all of the different bottlenecks that you have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Your name and where are you calling from? Okay, Mohammed, let's hear you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, Jolly Boy. Okay, Jolly Boy. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Do you have a caller on the line? Okay. Jaliba is talking about the policies that we have in place, that usually technicians are in place with people who have no idea of how things are supposed to be working and all that. So my question was, I was posting to you was about, with all of the bottlenecks that you just talked about, how are you, even though you talk about the commitment from the okay, we have a caller on the line. Oh, reduce the volume and just call your name and your location. So, caller. Good morning. Okay, the caller is off the line. Even though you talk about the commitment from the current, in this fourth NAC, how are they working, going to work? How have they committed themselves to working to, close the gaps that we identified? What are the concrete issues?
So, in the first thing, the development of the full national action plan took us a little over a year.
Okay. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Your name and where are you calling from? Good morning. Is the caller on the line? Good morning. Hello. No. Still there? Okay.
So, as I was saying, the development of this national action plan took us a little over a year.
Okay.
Okay, let's.
Okay, let's hear. Good morning, caller. Hello? Hello, caller? Please check it out. Okay.
And the reason why it took us this long, this time around, is simply because of the gaps we had discovered when we were doing the assessment, the performance assessment of the past national action plan.
Okay.
And so, in order to mitigate those challenges and deal with all of those different obstacles, we had to ensure that this time around, that this national action plan was more exhaustive,
Okay.
that the principal actors were the ones that were being engaged.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning. Your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, hello, good morning. Your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Center.
Okay, your name, sir?
Ambassador Jimmeh.
Okay, Mr. Swa. Okay, Mr. Swa, let's hear you. The volume of your radio, please lower your bit. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 All right. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. problem.
for letting me be this audience.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are welcome. Okay, you were in speech.
Yeah, so as I was saying, so what we decided to do this time around is to get the principal actors to come and make the commitment, all right? But not just to make the commitment, but there were questions that we had to ask. For example, we needed to find out that whatever commitment you were making, whether it had budgetary allotment in your budget as a ministry or as an agency, or whether you had any donor, whether there were going to be any donor support to that particular commitment. You know, we needed to exhaust all of that because those were some of the challenges. That some of the commitments that we're making were over ambitious. Some of the commitments that we're making had no support financially. The budget would not support them, even though it was a statutory mandate, but there wasn't any money, there wasn't any donor funding that was going to be directed to it. So we needed to find out all of those kind of things, all right, and be sure that, okay, this commitment is a serious commitment, it has budgetary support, or it will have some donor support as we go along. When that is something that we've identified, and we looked at the commitment and see whether it's not just an over-ambitious commitment, it's something that can be done in 2 years. You see, it's not about how large or how enormous it is. It is about how doable, how feasible that particular thing is, all right? And so we looked at it and said, okay, this commitment is feasible, it can be done within 2 years. Even if there are challenges, we can still find a way around it. Then we took the commitments to civil society and we began to discuss it with civil society actors so that they will also see and do an assessment of it and see whether that this is something that is possible that can be done and how they can support it, all right, as civil society organizations. Civil society had their own input, but we didn't stop there. We also had citizens engagement. We did it in a sectional way, in a sectorial way, okay? We divided the country into different regions, and we had it in different regions. And we brought citizens to come and look at it and say, okay, this is actually what we are speaking of, this is actually what we need, no, this is not what we want, can we tweak this a little, can we do it? So we went through all of these processes, so that's how come it took us a little over 1 year. And then we got back to the same government ministries and agencies and said, look, these are the things that you need to change with respect to these commitments, or these are the things that you need to remove because citizens are saying, no, this can't work, this is not feasible, they don't see, or you need to further explain, how are you going to get this done? With all of that information, now then we finally crafted and we all agree on what the commitments would be. And so at the end of the day now, the commitments have been finalized, they've been documented.
So what was it like since 2011? How have you been doing it? All of the processes you just outlined, did you do them then?
So I can safely say to you, I don't think so. The reason is because, like I said, we found out that in the last national action plans, there were commitments that were made on behalf of ministries and agencies by other ministries and agencies.
Okay.
So you can see that the engagement was not detailed, was not extensive to that nature. All right.
Okay.
We realized that commitments that were made had no, again, like I said, had no budgetary allotment. So how would they? I mean, how do we expect it to work? So we realized that because of those gaps. That's the reason why we decided to take these measures at this time.
Okay.
So we can say that in the development of previous commitments, some of those things weren't really put into place.
Okay, let's come to beneficial ownership. Beneficial ownership is about people knowing the owners of the different companies, the actual owners of these companies, and then making them public so public can know them.
Yeah.
Where are we with Liberia's transparency regime? Not beneficial ownership, not very feasible in our current transparency regime.
No, so in the OGP National Action Plan,
Yeah.
the Liberia Business Registry have committed herself
Okay.
to ensuring that the beneficial ownership registry, all right, will be fully developed. Matter of fact, my understanding when we were engaging the Liberia Business Registry, the Director General, in fact, I can say to you that the Director General of the Liberia Business Registry is the highest technical focal person of the OGP. And what do I mean? Every line ministry, agency, and commission has a technical focal person.
Okay.
But at the Liberia Business Registry, the Director General designated himself.
Okay.
He did not designate anybody. Okay, in other institutions, the minister or the director designated a deputy or so, but he designated himself as the technical focal person. And so in our engagement, he made it clear that OECD was kind of supporting Liberia to develop a beneficial ownership registry. All right.
OECD, by that means what?
The OECD is a international development institution that is working along with the UN to ensure economic development.
Okay.
So they're helping the Liberia Business Registry to establish a beneficial ownership registry, an online platform that citizens can have access to. And they have committed that within the next 2 years, they will ensure that that particular platform is fully established, that it is accessible, that citizens can go there and be able to have the information on the actual owners of businesses. So what has been required right now is when you went to the Liberia Business Registry to do your business, you were required to bring in all of your information. We're talking about real information, we're talking about actual information. All right, you're required to bring all of those information, and they're going to put those information into a database. All right, and because those information will be in a database, they're going to also make it accessible to the public. So at any point in time, anybody from anywhere can go on the Liberia Business Registry website or that portal and be able to find out who owns Sam and Q company, who's the actual owner. Because too often there has been this fronting. Liberians will front for big businesses, and then as a result, the real taxes aren't collected because those businesses have international standards or have international connections out there, but a local person here is fronting and making it look like it's just a Liberian-owned business, because there's a benefit that goes for a Liberian-owned business, and there's a benefit that goes for a business that is not owned by a Liberian, all right? And there are restrictions, there are limitations, all right? And so if you have Liberians fronting, obviously, what these international businesses or what these international actors are supposed to pay, they will not be paying to government. And so you see that they will be defrauding the government of certain benefits as well. So the Liberia Business Registry again has a commitment to this OGP National Action Plan to ensure that the business registry is updated, is functional, is accessible.
Is it part of your work as the OGP Secretariat to ensure that line ministries and agencies have functional websites, so that for further visibility, people can have access to real information about these different what they are doing? Is it part of your work to encourage the different ministries to have these functional websites?
So Sam, you see, and this is one of the disappointments in the 21st century, that we'll be talking about ministries and agencies not having functional websites. It is embarrassing. It is disappointing. Whether it's part of our work, well, in a way, yes, to encourage, especially those who are committed to the National Action Plan, to encourage them to develop a functional website. All right, we are engaging them to make sure, because let me tell you, as the Secretariat, our responsibility also is to do a quarterly assessment, performance assessment of these ministries and agencies as it relates to their commitment, not to all of their statutory mandate, but as it relates to their commitment in the National Action Plan. And so whenever these assessments are done, we are going to provide them the reports so that they know exactly where they are. And we'll tell them, and then we all can see how we can work around the challenges, but then we all can see how we can glorify their successes as well, all right? So it is also, in our engagement, we are also encouraging every line ministry and agency to have a functional website, because we think in this 21st century, in this age of technology, it is just so disappointing. It will be so petty that as a ministry or as an agency of government, you do not have a functional website. I mean, how do people access information? I mean, how do people get to know what you're doing? In a way, it hurts you as a government ministry or agency. It hurts you, because it is not just the local, but even at the international level, there are people outside of the country who may want to know exactly what you're involved with, and because you do not have this kind of website, people will never be able to know what you are doing. So I mean, it hurts you.
I want us to go back to beneficial ownership. Are there positive impacts for beneficial ownership, full disclosure of beneficial ownership?
Oh yeah.
What are the impact it has on our business or economy?
Oh yeah, sure. So you see, again, like I said, too often the economy gets robbed, all right, because of people fronting and acting and taking on certain space. You see, as long as you have the actual owners identified, one of the things it does is that, for example, in a procurement or in a bidding process, right? Government can put up bids. In a bidding process, um, maybe this company that is owned by a Liberian is in the competition, is bidding, and then there's a company that are owned by foreigners or that are owned by some international bodies out there also bidding. Now, if it is stated clearly that this bid is restricted to Liberian-owned companies, that means that those people who are foreign companies cannot be into that bid. How do we identify? How can we establish that? The beneficial ownership registry will be able to identify that this company is actually a Liberian-owned company. Because you cannot say you are a Liberian-owned company and in a partnership, assuming that they are Liberians, in a partnership, 90% of that is to a foreigner, and then you have 10% to the Liberian who's fronting, all right? Or the Liberian is just a registered agent, and then the entire ownership is to somebody else who's not a Liberian. So this kind of information will definitely be put out there to the public, and then you that are taking part in the bid as a Liberian-owned company, you can be able to assess and know all of the people that are bidding. You can know who are the actual owners, and if you have issues, you can raise those kind of issues. Also, what that would do is that when it comes to collecting revenue, taxes, all right, what the Liberian-owned businesses are supposed to pay, obviously, that will be something they will pay. And so when other businesses that are fronting to be Liberian-owned businesses, obviously when it's established that they are not, they will have to pay duly what they are supposed to pay. So it will kind of help to boost the economy. It will create a space for the implementation of the liberalization policy. All right, there is a policy document that states what Liberians are supposed to do. Okay, and sometimes you find out that there is this argument because in a space you see that international or foreign partners are also in the space where Liberians are supposed to operate, and they come with huge sum of money. So obviously they kind of defeat or they kind of take away the competition, from the Liberians.
Quickly, I want you to just maybe full of the concrete action things that are in the action plan to be implemented or to be achieved that we can hold the actors back. What are they?
So this is the printed copy of the National Action Plan. So, for example, let me just say that we have the National Legislature also in the National Action Plan as a commitment. They have a commitment in the National Action Plan.
What do they have there?
So the National Legislature has committed that in 2 years, all right, they will be able to develop a system where we can be able to track the status of bills at the level of the House of Representatives and the Senate, all right, through an ongoing monitoring mechanism. So right now, what the OGP Secretariat has done is that we've engaged the Office of the Vice President, who is the President of the Senate, and we are working out modalities to have a meeting to discuss because we met her in 2018, and she agreed to be a liaison, all right, between the OGP and the Senate. We've also engaged, we've also identified champions, all right, both at the level of the Senate and the House of Representatives. And we are engaging these champions, all right, to ensure that these commitments are fulfilled, like they're tracking to. We are working with them to see how they can go back to using the automated voting machine.
Yes.
All right, there's an automated voting machine that will definitely record your votes, that will record your attendance, all right. And these are just the amended. This is nothing new that we are asking. We are saying every time we go to section, when attendance is taken, let it be recorded. So when a citizen comes from Jimmeh in Grand Cape County, where my paternal grandparents come from, all right? When a citizen comes from there and come and say, look, I want to know whether my representative have been coming to work, you will not be looking through papers. You can go to that machine, print out the attendance, and the citizen can take that attendance and say, okay, my representative have been working. I want to know what my representative have been voting on. You can go to that machine, print out the voting records, and you can see that on this particular issue, this representative voted this. It speaks to representation. It speaks to lawmaking, which is their statutory mandate.
Commitment for that.
Again, Like I said, we've identified champions. We are talking to the Senate. The Senate has shown a lot of willingness to getting that done.
Okay.
All right, and we are hoping that the House of Representatives can also show that same level of willingness.
Okay.
Quickly, just to look at, for example, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning.
Yeah.
They've committed
Okay.
to ensuring that all of the budget documents,
Mhm.
all right, they will publish all of the budget documents throughout the year. So these are the kind of commitments that we have, and so many.
All right, so you've been listening to the program Interpreted Watch. That's the voice of the head of Secretariat at the Open Government Partnership. He's the OGP. So he's Ralph Jimmeh. He has been our guest on the program Interpreted Watch. Interpreted Watch is a 1-hour radio program brought to you by the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. It is aired every Wednesday and Thursday on Truth 96.1 FM, ECOWAS Radio 91.5 FM. The program runs from 11 to 12 noon and is relayed on Prime FM on Thursday. And a repeat of the program comes on Saturday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Truth FM. My name is Sam Zota. I'm the Media and Communication Officer at the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. Thanks to the government and people of Sweden for the support. My colleague Mark Bandao has been behind the camera, making sure that our visibility goes beyond the studio on Integrity TV. Join us next Wednesday for another edition of the program. Better still, Saturday is on repeat. Goodbye.